You know, the United States of America was the greatest country before Trump, and it's the greatest country now after Trump. The white supremacists want to go back. They want to go back to the days when it was legal to own slaves.
You are about to be entertained by the ape, the young man who has become a legend in his own time. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Alrighty then, welcome everybody. Oh boy, exhausted. But you know, I gotta come and do my thing for my peoples. Okay, everybody, welcome. It's the Ron Kelly Show. And it's on it is on Facebook Live, YouTube, and blogtalkradio.com. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Everybody who I guess will eventually get here. Oh boy, welcome. It's the Ron Kelly Show. You know how we do every Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern Daylight. I don't know if they're not daylight time yet. I guess it's standard time right now. Daylight savings comes when it gets warm, and they want to give us as many sunny hours. They want to give us as many hours of daylight as they possibly could. So everybody said, welcome. I got to get another light because I look so black and dark. Write that down. Anyway, everybody, welcome, Mr. Ron Kelly Show. And it is on blogtalkradio.com. All right, so greetings and welcome. You know how we do. We're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and of course on radio. Glad to have you guys all in on a Thursday. February 3rd is February 3rd, 2022, and I'm still getting, trying to get used to saying 2022. And I'm getting to Black History Month. Oh God. Black History Month. I'm going to talk about that tonight. And the Black History Month, and why do we even do it? Why do we even do it? We do Black History Month every month. I mean, every February, the shortest month of the year, and we do Black History Month every February, 28 days. And for what? I mean, I'll get to it. I mean, it's such a depressing time right now with all that's going on around us. But we have to keep pushing, keep it on, keep push through all the madness. And we got a lot to talk about tonight. And we are still fighting for voting rights. 54 years after the death of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we're not, and I'll get to Brian Flores, and I got some other stuff I want to talk about with you guys tonight. A little under the weather, just a little bit under the weather. It's cold, it's warm, and I work outside, so I get to catch the vapors. But we'll get to that. But we're not that far. We're not that far off from white fountains and black fountains. We're not that far. That wasn't like hundreds of years ago. That was, in most of our lifetimes. Most of the people who listen to the Ron Kelly Show, I don't know for sure, but we're not that far off from white water fountains and black water fountains. We're not that far off from colored waiting rooms where black folks had to sit in a certain section of the bus station. Thank God they were allowed to be inside. Black folks were had to sit in a certain section. When we went to the Woolworths, there's a certain. I think you can sit at the lunch counter. You're not that far off from that stuff. That was not that long ago. It was 50, 60 years ago, maybe, where black folks had to sit at the couldn't go to the Woolworths and have a little snack at the counter because it wasn't for black folks. So we're not that far off from a lot of this stuff. So I'm not so shocked and amazed with the Karens and the white folks that are going to black people's houses, going to their neighbors' houses, and cursing them out and calling them the N-word, et cetera, et cetera. You know, we're not that far off from that. We're not that far off from that. Well, I'll get into it a little bit later on. But first, I need to let you know that the views and opinions expressed here are exclusively those of myself and R. Kelly Media Enterprise LLC, and they're not those of my advertisers or my support team here on the Ron Kelly show. It's about 6 minutes past the hour. Yes, we're not that far off from this stuff. So don't be so shocked and amazed when you see these blatant racism and the stuff that's going on in the United States of America. Don't be so surprised. Anyway, shout out to Joanne Jackson. Hello, darling. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you. Joanne Jackson got her favorite, I forget what they call it, the badge. Joanne Jackson got her badge. Shout out to Ronald McCready, my brother from grammar school. Jeez. Unbelievable. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, Joanne Jackson. Thank you, Ronald McCready, for engaging me here on the Ron Kelly show. So it's Black History Month. You know, and I well, before I get into that, let me tell you about this. It's a white Republican, and y'all know I'm not anti-white people. But there's a white Republican who's a candidate for governor of Michigan. Garrett Soldano is his name. Garrett Soldano, a white Republican candidate for governor of Michigan. Now, he said on a podcast recently that women who get impregnated by a rapist should carry the baby to term, claiming that the baby might wind up being president of the United States. Oh, so that's where Trump came from, that his mother was raped and he turned out to be the president. Anyway, just disgusting. Just completely disgusting. Why would you? I mean, so the woman, after being raped, the trauma of being raped, now has carried a baby for 9 months. You know, should carry the baby for 9 months. See, this is where the Republicans are headed. They're headed toward repealing Roe v. Wade, and a woman, no matter what the circumstances were, will have to have the baby. Just unbelievable. So the woman gets pregnant from a rapist, so she suffers the trauma of being raped, beaten, whatever, abused. And then, so the suggestion is that she carries the baby for the 9 months. Carries the baby for 9 months. I mean, I can't even imagine, you know, and I'm not a woman and I don't know what it feels like to be pregnant, but I can't even imagine, you know, a woman having to carry a baby that's a result of a rape and has to carry that baby for 9 months. So it's not like she can move on, you know, have an abortion, and maybe she can get some counseling, you know, some professional help and move on to, you know, to try to do the best she can to recapture her life. But his suggestion is Garrett Soldano, who is a white Republican candidate for the governor of Michigan, says, you know, and he's not the first, he's not the only Republican who has said this stuff. You know, there's other Republicans who have said, you know, who advocate for a woman carrying the baby to term. You know, there are other Republicans, white men, who advocate for a woman not being able to have an abortion, even in the case of rape. Just unbelievable. You know, and see, the scary part of all of this, is the scary part of this is that this used to be outrageous. And, you know, the Republicans and the Democrats would all like, oh my God, why would you even say that? But, you know, things are getting more and more outrageous now. That some of these things that the people say, some of this stuff is not as shocking as it used to be. You know, because we know, because for example, Trump says that he's going to pardon the January 6th rioters, the people who Republicans are saying were just tourists. You just can't. I can't wrap my head around any of this stuff. It's 11 minutes past the hour, so it's Black History Month once again, and I just don't see the point. You can get at me. You know, you can. If you have a comment, you can put it on my stream. I just don't see the point. So there was a flag raising a couple days ago, Black History Month flag. I mean, for what? It's because it's symbolism. It's symbolism. Symbolism with no real change. Symbolism. You know, raising a flag, you know, and some of these companies are, you know, have a little 30-second, they're honoring Dr. Martin Luther King, and, you know, it's all symbolism. Because nothing, shout out to Nikki Totten, who says, hello, darling, how are you? Nikki Totten says, it never was or is shocking. It's just more acceptable. Well, yeah, but there's still, there's still stuff. You know, I believe that there are still things that people that still kind of shock you. You know, getting back to what that white Republican gubernatorial candidate said about rape, that women. That's what Nikki's referring to. That the gubernatorial candidate in Michigan says that women should carry rape babies to term. Just absolutely ridiculous. Nikki says it never was or is shocking. It's just more accessible now. Well, yeah, I guess as time advances, some, you know, things are just not as shocking as they used to be. You remember looking at I Love Lucy, and they used to sleep in separate beds, even though they were married, because back then, a man and a woman in the same bed was shocking. So when Lucy and Ricky were on television, they had separate beds, which I thought was shocking that they had separate beds. Anyway, so Ronald McCready says in the beginning it was just for a week. Yeah. Yeah, that Republican lost a female vote. Probably, you're probably right. But now, let me getting back to the Black History Month. I just don't see the point. You know, I know a lot of you are not going to agree with me. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate emails and stuff like that, and that's okay. I don't mind. But I don't necessarily agree that we should even have. I mean, because it's a symbolism. We you know, even with and we as Black folks, we live through the symbolism of a lot of stuff. You know, like let's say we have a Black woman does make it to the Supreme Court, and it's symbolism. Because I mean, okay, we have a Black woman in the Supreme Court, but how does that change the landscape in the Black community? Just like we had a Black president. We had Barack Obama was president for 8 years, and the landscape of the Black community didn't change. It didn't change. It stayed the same, you know. And so, yeah, it'd be nice to have a Black woman be the first black woman to be appointed to the Supreme Court, just like Kamala Harris was the first black woman or the first Asian African-American woman or the first woman, period, to become vice president. But it doesn't change anything. I mean, you can stick your chest out a little bit more, and the women can say, hey, there's a woman, so if something was to happen to Biden, it would be Kamala Harris would be the president, and Nancy Pelosi would be the vice president if something was to happen with, because she's the Speaker of the House, she would automatically become the vice president of the United States, and Kamala Harris would advance to the presidency. But it's symbolism. It doesn't change anything, and I'm looking at these token mentions of the contributions of black folks. Black folks have made major contributions to the history and to the development of the United States of America. Brought here free labor and worked for hundreds of years. And there's things, as you travel around the fruited plain of the United States of America, you'll see a lot of stuff that black folk, like Washington, D.C., for example, was mainly built with slave labor. Like 12 of the first presidents of the United States owned slaves. So many of the things you see across the United States of America today, some of the some of the seven wonders of America, a lot of them were built with slave labor. Ron McCready says, if y'all got me going backwards and forwards, just let's allow another woman to fill those shoes. Yeah, but and so what? So what? I mean, you talk about I don't see the point with Black History Month. Why? As much as black folks have contributed to the development of the United States of America, why would we only get props for 1 month? Right. Washington, D.C., designed by Benjamin Banneker. Why would we only get props for 1 month? You know what I'm saying? It would take 2 or 3, it would take 100 years to outline we would need a Black History century, a Black History decade, a Black History quarter century to outline all the contributions that black folks have made to the development of the United States of America. The United States of America wouldn't be the United States of America if it were not for black folks. But then we have this month. Ronald McCready says it started off for 1 week. Nikki Totten says we need to seize the moment to put black people in a position of power. It's just a phase, I believe. This is for them and not for us. One mistake and choose. Yeah, exactly. Ronald McCready says in reference to Black History Month that it started out for 1 week. Now it's a month. I mean, a month. That's it. And even black folks, when the Black History Month is over, black folks they go back to whatever it was they were doing. I just don't see the point. I don't see the point for Black History Month that we should only honor the contributions. It's you know what? I'll take a break. I will take a break. We'll come back with more of this program. It's the Ron Kelly Show, everybody, and it's live on Facebook, YouTube, and on blogtalkradio.com. Yes, indeed, I am the man. What a news cycle this is. This guy has got to go. Trump has got to go.
George Floyd snuffed out by this police officer who's supposed to be serving and protecting people.
It's the Ron Kelly Show.
All righty then, welcome back. It's the Ron Kelly Show, and it's on live on YouTube, Facebook Live, and of course, blogtalkradio.com. All right, it's that time of the year again. It's coming, it's coming. And if you're looking to get your taxes done with that personalized touch thing, then you need to get with my personal, well, not personal, but my tax preparer, Arenaza's Tax Service. Arenaza's Tax Service is your tax specialist. And unlike those big assembly line tax preparers, Arenaza's Tax Service will answer all your questions and give your tax returns the attention they deserve. Conveniently located at 424 Lakeview Avenue in Clifton, New Jersey. Sorry about that national audience. This is for the locals. Give them a call, 862-238-7548. That's 862-238-7548 or 201-888-8011. It's 201-888-8011. And when you do, make sure you tell them you heard about it right here on the Ron Kelly Show for your special discount. Arenaza's Tax Service is your new tax preparation specialist. All right, everybody, it's 21 minutes past the hour. February 3rd, my birthday is this month. February 3rd, 2022. And again, I'm still trying to get used to saying 2022. Boy, time, you look back at times. I remember, being a student at Lincoln High School, Jersey City, New Jersey. Growing up in Jersey City, and I still have vivid memories. Number 9 school, where I went to school with my buddy Ronald McCready. Number 9, the Kennedy School, I believe they called it back then. I mean, we going as far back as I don't want to go. But anyway, yes. The time just keeps going by, but just got to be grateful. Thank the Lord. Thank you, Jesus, that you are still here. All right, 23 minutes past the hour. Nikki Totten says, they don't teach it in school. It's not a requirement. Give them the knowledge at any time it can be offered. We need to fight to make this buck. You see, now that's the other thing. I'm going to get to that. Nikki Totten. I'm going to get to that. What's going on in Texas, for example? Because number one, we're still fighting for voting rights. And again, we're not so far away from a lot of this. The black and the white water fountain and the black and the white waiting room at the bus station, and the black and the white lunch counter at the Woolworths back in the day. We're not that far off from that. That stuff is recent. I mean, historically speaking, that stuff is recent. We're still not where we need to be. Now, I'm telling you, what's going on in Texas, for example, Nikki, is that they're taking. Like what they're doing is they're taking white folks. First of all, white folks are taking, or they're advocating for taking, and they're actually doing it, taking like books by Toni Morrison, books that make reference to slavery are being removed from the school libraries, just being removed. That's what they're doing in Texas. And there's a new, and being it is Black History Month, the school administrators in some states, white folks, are telling the teachers, or giving the teachers, because they're not telling them, don't say anything about Black History Month. They're not doing that, but they are telling them what they can say and what they can't say in regards to Black History Month. Like, for example, it said you can mention Marvin Gaye, but you can't mention the lyrics to what's going on, for example. You can mention Dr. Martin Luther King, but you can't mention, you know what I'm saying? You can mention the person that, you know, in the historical context, but you can't mention anything about slavery or white folks beating on black folks. And yeah, it's revisionist history. What these people are doing, white folks, they're trying to rewrite history. And you know, and the whole thing about it is they're saying that they don't want their kids to feel bad. They don't want their kids to feel bad. So, you know, but you can't, I mean, but this is what they're trying to do. They don't want their kids to feel bad. So, like, for example, Jackie Robinson. You can mention Jackie Robinson, but you can't mention the racism that he suffered trying to break into baseball. So what they're doing is they're telling them to, you can't mention anything about slavery or racism, but you can mention the person, the historical, in a historical context, but you can't mention slavery or racism. This is what's going on in Texas, you know, and in some other places across the United States of America. White folks are, they don't want any mention of slavery or the Holocaust, for example. You know, you see, Whoopi Goldberg got suspended the other day for saying that Whoopi Goldberg got suspended the other day for saying that the Holocaust and what happens to those Jewish people wasn't about race. And in a way, well, I'll get back to that. Nikki Tyler says Michael Jackson lyrics said a lot. White people didn't even understand the meaning. They loved him, but they didn't know it was a message being told. Yeah, so if they can dance and sing to you, you know, yeah, we got your back. But yeah, so white folks are trying to cut out. They're trying to cut out any mention of slavery and what white folks did, you know, back in the day. Ronald McCready says they don't want their children to feel bad, but it's okay for them to shoot and kill people in the street. Yeah, see, that's the other thing too. You know, that's the other thing. But that's the gist of what white folks are saying. They're saying that they don't want their kids to feel bad. They don't want their kids to read about what happened back in the day. And see, the hit is it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for white folks. It's embarrassing for white folks and for their children to see what they did, and not necessarily those particular white folks, but white folks back in the day. So that's the whole idea. They're saying that they don't want their kids to feel bad. So they're trying to surgically remove any mention of slavery or what happened with the Holocaust for white folks. For, you know, to take this stuff out of the curriculum, so their kids don't know what heathens they were, you know, and how they treated black folks, made them work for free, brutalized them, raped the wives of the slaves, and all that, hangings, disembowelments, and all the stuff. You see, and that's my point exactly, that they can't, slavery is a part of American history. But white folks feel like they can do anything, and now they're trying to surgically remove any mention of slavery. Like I said, you can mention Marvin Gaye, but you can't mention the lyrics to what's going on. You can mention Jackie Robinson, but you can't mention why. And this is what school administrators are telling teachers, what they can and can't do, especially in regard to Black History Month. Because now they really got to buckle down, because Black History Month is Black History Month, and it's going to be everywhere, not just in the schools, but TV commercials and some of the big companies will mention some historical significance of Black History Month, and they'll do that. So it's everywhere for this month. But I tell you, because I don't think that I don't see the point, with Black History Month. I just don't see the point. It's 31 minutes past the hour. I don't see the point. Nikki Totten says, it starts at home, what you don't learn in school. We don't need them to teach us. We've been teaching us for centuries. You see, now, and here's the other thing, and I'm always going to play devil's advocate here on the Ron Kelly Show. And see, here's the other thing. How does it benefit us? How does it benefit Black folks? How does it benefit Black folks having the knowledge of Black history? How does that benefit Black folks? Do a lot of us even care about? Do a lot of us even care about Black history? You see, because we look outside of ourselves, and we look to mayors and council people, and we look to these folks, presidents, senators, congressmen, and we look to these people to straighten us out. We look to them to straighten us out. The governor stinks. The mayor sucks. The council people are not doing their job. See, but it's going to take more than, it's not just a one-sided. It takes both. It's going to take us too. But a lot of us look at other people. We look at mayors. We look at Congress people. We look at the government to straighten us out. And it's never going to happen, because you got to want to be straightened out in order to get straightened out. Like if a person is on drugs and you can beg and cry and plead with them all they want, but they're not, until they're ready to stop using drugs, they're not going to stop using drugs. And and Black folks have to want to get themselves together in order for us to get together. Nikki Totten says, we first need to learn how to coexist. Yeah, because Black folks are like Addie says, throat. You look on Facebook and you see these arguments and the vitriol and you see stuff on Facebook, for example. You're like, I'll be like, wow, really? And so Nikki Totten is 100% correct. Black folks need to coexist, because white people are only going to do but so much. No, white folks are only going to do but so much. The governors, the mayors, or even Black elected officials, they're only going to do but so much. And then there's what we have to do. Because we got to chip in and we have to do what we need to do. So every year, we have the Black History Month, and I'm like, oh God. Because what's the point? What's the point of Black History Month if it doesn't make us better? If we're not doing better? How many Black History Months have many of us sat through? I mean, a lot of them. And what has happened in the Black community? Has the landscape changed in the Black community in the United States of America? Has it changed? No, it has not changed. Has the Barack Obama was a president for 8 years, from 2008 to 2016. Did the landscape in the Black community change? No. We still got you still had carjackings and shootings and drug dealing and all kinds of stuff going on. And despite the fact that we had a black president. So having a black president didn't change nothing. And having a black female vice president is not going to change nothing. Not, because we deal in symbolism. That's what we deal in. We deal in symbolism. But I'll take a break and I'm going to come back and I'll talk a little bit more about this. We'll talk about Brian Flores and should he have waited? Should Brian Flores have waited? We'll discuss that in just a few minutes when we come right back with more. It's the Ron Kelly Show, and it's on Facebook, YouTube, and blogtalkradio.com. Shout out to my sponsor, one of my sponsors. For 41 years, America and Porterfield Transportation has provided safe, clean, reliable transportation to and from your destination. America and Porterfield Transportation provides service to schools, churches, and medical transportation as well. Licensed to operate by the state of New Jersey Department of Transportation. Their late model fleet of buses and vehicles will make sure you go to and from your destination safely. And the courteous drivers will see to your needs during your transportation experience. They're located at 307 Arlington Avenue in Plainfield, New Jersey. Give them a call, 908-753-6423, 908-753-6423. Or you can email them at amica.porterfield@verizon.net. That's amica.porterfield@verizon.net. Thank you again, Amica and Porterfield Transportation, for sponsoring the Ron Kelly show at 38 minutes past the hour. So, wow, Blockbuster. I got a bunch of comments here that I haven't. Joanne Jackson says, as long as we have racism, nothing will ever change. Well, you know what? Racism can be beat. I'm going to address Joanne Jackson for a second. Joanne Jackson got her top fan badge, I think, from the Ron Kelly Show Facebook page. Racism can be beat. Racism can be beat. If black folks are together, or if black folks would come together, commerce together, worship together, stand together, fight together. If black folks would do that, racism would be irrelevant, like racism was, when we had the Black Wall Street, for example. We had Black Wall Street. That was a perfect example. Black folks working together, doing business together, standing together, worshiping together. That's what happened. And white folks, couldn't handle it. So they came in and destroyed, they destroyed what happened, the community. But that's a great example of black folks, Black Wall Street. Black folks had it going on. Black folks had it going on when we had the Black Wall Street in Oklahoma, I believe it was. Blocks and blocks and blocks of black businesses and black folks doing business with each other. Wouldn't go outside the community. Stay inside the community and did business with each other. And the neighborhoods flourished. Not a lot of jealousy, not a lot of envy, not a lot of, what you see today. And the neighborhoods flourished. And the only reason why that neighborhood didn't last is because white folks came in and destroyed it. And we haven't had anything like that since. We haven't had a Black Wall Street since. You see people making mention of, doing business with black folks. But we had a Black Wall Street. Black folks flourished. There were blocks and blocks and blocks, big neighborhood of black folks, black businesses, and black folks not going outside, not going to the mall. Well, there wasn't a malls back then, but when we had Black Wall Street, black folks did business with each other and were together in a spirit. You won't see that now. So, Joanne Jackson, I disagree. I think that if black folks came together, as a force, if black folks came together in mass, if black folks just came together, there's just a lot of black people in America. And we're playing right into the white folks' hands. We're playing right into the white folks' hands because white people know that in white, the powers that be, the 1%, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, they don't want black people to come together because they know because they will be disabled. Black people, we can have our own banks. We can have our own supermarkets. We can have our own police departments. We can have, if black folks came together, black folks would, that's a scary thought to the white folks, to certain white folks. If black people came together, it would be monumental. And you see, white folks are, white folks looking at black folks like we're in a pot, and white folks are doing everything they can. Certain white folks are doing everything they can to keep black folks at each other. Society is being manipulated. And black folks are being manipulated to be by white folks, by the powers that be, to be against each other. Because white folks don't want black people to come together. Because we'll control our own destiny. Black folks will control our own destiny. We have our own banks, our own financial systems. We'll control our own destiny. Right now, we have to depend on the white people, on the white man. Right now, we have to depend on the white man. You got to you need a loan, you got to go to the white man. You want to buy a car, you got to go to the white man. You want to buy a house, you got to go to the white man. Anything that you want, anything that black folks want, car, house, start a business, you got to go to the white man. You got to go to the white man. And then he could say no. Then he could say no. So now you're stuck. You can't go to a black person and get a loan for a house or a car or to start a business. You can't do that now because black folks don't have the facilities. Black folks don't have the money to loan. I mean, there's a couple of like City National Banks, some of these banks, they barely got $1 billion. I mean, there's no money, and even them, and even those banks, even banks that are controlled by black people, are not so welcoming to black folks. So everything that black folks want, we have to go to the white man to get it. So we're under their control. So you got to go to Bank of America or Wells Fargo, some of these banks that have trillions of dollars in their coffers. Chase, Citibank, big banks that had not billions, trillions of dollars. And we're stuck. We got to go to the white man When you want to get buy a car, you got to go to the white man. It might be a black person to sell you the car, but trust and believe is a white person that's giving you the money. Okay. So, no, I didn't want to put that up there. Okay. So, I'm lost. Okay. So, no, I disagree with Joanne Jackson. If black folks, racism would mean a lot less. See, racism, it's 14 minutes or 40 hours. Racism, has an effect on us because white folks are in charge of everything. So they can, if black folks had their own thing going, racism wouldn't be as, wouldn't affect us as much as it does now. See, because racism works when the people who are in charge of everything can exhibit their racism on you because they're in charge of everything. So, for example, if you go to get an apartment and white people own the apartment or white people are the managing agent, they can say no. See, so as long as you have to, racism only works when you have to depend on that other entity. So as long as we have to depend on white people, racism is going to work. Nikki Totten says this is because the focus is mainly on what happened yesterday, what people of color are doing today to make a change. Well, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Ronald McCready says it changed the face on the wall up. Yeah, Barack Obama's face is hanging in the White House. Joanne Jackson says that's the problem. We don't want to stand together. They just barely want. Exactly. But and the trust, the trust, there is no trust. Joanne Jackson says, I was not speaking just on black race. There's also racism in the white people as well. But see, boo, the racism only works when racism works like when you're the underdog and you're not the people and you're not the person in power. That's how racism works. So if you go to the bank and the loan officer's white, he can say no. If you go to buy a car and the finance manager's white, he can, or the bank. See, that's how racism works. It works for the powerful. But if you don't have any power, you're going to suffer racism. You're going to suffer if you don't have any power. But if black people came together and we had our own banks, we had our own finance companies, we had our own, et cetera, racism, white people couldn't impose their racism on us because we don't need them. Because racism works when you need the person. For the people that are in power, that's how racism works for the people who are in power. Lamont Gates says, doesn't the percentage of whites to blacks play a role? And well, I wouldn't say that, Lamont Gates. I'll go back out, after the show, I will go online and I'll address each one of you who made a comment. But it's a people when you're in charge, racism is more effective for the people who are in charge. See, because white people don't care if black folks don't like them. They don't care because black people, see, when somebody can affect your life, that's when racism is most effective, when somebody can affect your life. White people don't care if black people don't like them. They just stay out of our neighborhoods. They don't care because we can't harm white folks. We don't run banks. We don't run finance companies. We're not in charge of anything. So white folks don't care about us not liking them. They could care less. Like, we don't care if those Negroes don't like us because they're not in charge of nothing. So the racism only works for the people who are in charge. So white folks don't care whether we like them or not. But we're the ones that's all bent out of shape because white people don't like us, because they can affect our lives. They can tell us no. When we want to get something, they can tell us no. You want an apartment? No. You want a car? No. You want a house? No. You want to start a business? No. But white people could care less if we don't like them. They laugh. They like, so what? Just stay out of the neighborhood. Don't go around there. That's basically what they do. So Brian Flores, and personally speaking, I think he should have waited. Brian Flores files a lawsuit against the NFL, the Broncos, somebody else, the Raiders, and the Giants, I believe it was, because and this has been going on for years. You have a workforce, 70% African American workforce, and there's only one African American who runs a team out of the 32 teams. Now, there's a couple of teams that are still left who haven't picked their. I'm talking about the NFL. There's still some teams that haven't picked their new. That have not picked their new head coach. But Brian Flores, who was black, filed a lawsuit against the NFL, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And personally speaking, I think he should have waited. I think he should have waited until everybody was chosen, because there's still a few jobs that are open that he had a shot at. So I think he should have waited before he filed his lawsuit. Bunny McKnight says, why wait for hate? If we don't fight now, we're done, my brother. And I get that, my brother. Shout out to Bunny McKnight, my brother from another mother. I get that. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that there were still some jobs open. There's still a couple of jobs open. I mean, I get what you're saying, and but I just think that he should have waited until all the candidates. He should have waited till all the jobs were filled, because I think if he had waited till all the jobs were filled and no black people were given a head coaching position, I think he would have had a better leg to stand on if he would have waited. Because there might have been some teams that might have wanted Brian Flores. Brian Flores is an excellent coach. He's been a coach for 20 years. Since he was in his early 20s, 23 years old, I think he started Bunny McKnight's affirmative action. Well, I think he should have waited. I mean, I applaud him for, having the courage, because his career is probably no owner is going to hire him now. He's like the same predicament as Colin Kaepernick. Everybody knows Colin Kaepernick, who sacrificed his career to bring attention to police brutality. And so again, I kind of his career is over, but I think he should have waited. I do believe that he should have waited before he filed a lawsuit, because there's still some jobs open. Bunny McKnight, only because there's still some jobs open. I think he should have waited until those jobs were filled, and if they weren't filled by any African Americans, then boom, now you file a lawsuit, because that's going to be an issue. Like, well, there were jobs still open, and that's what the NFL is going to say, and that's what those teams are going to say. Hey, listen, there were jobs still open. Maybe he moved a little bit too fast, because there were jobs that were still open. So that's probably what's that's the hangnail to all of this, But we know what's going on in the NFL. All the billionaire white men who own these teams, this Rooney Rule. And the Rooney Rule says that you have to, every team has to interview minority candidates, at least one or two minority candidates. Now, all you got to do is just interview them, and just interview them without having any intention of hiring them. Just like it looks like what happened with Brian Flores. because the Giants had already decided. The Giants already decided on Brian Dable. They had already decided. Brian Dable was the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. So it appears that the Giants had already decided to hire Brian Dable 2 days before they interviewed Brian Flores. I don't know that, Ronald McCready. He says he was not interviewed because I don't know that. How many? If he was interviewed for those other teams, I don't know that. I have to look into that. But you know, I still say that until those other jobs, see, because all you got to do now is hire a black person. You know, but you know, Lovie Smith was the head coach of a black man was the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Lovie Smith had a 10-6 record. This is when it was only 16 games. Lovie Smith had a 10-6 record. Lovie Smith got fired after having a 10-6 record. 10-6, that's great. That's like playoffs. And Lovie Smith was fired. You know, David Culley was the last year was the head coach of the Houston Texans. One season, boom, he's out. Steve Wilkes was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. One season, boom, he's out. These are all black guys. But see, but on the same token, Marvin Lewis was the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals for 16 years. Oh, you know, he was the head coach there for a long time. So they can't say that he wasn't given a chance. But now the Cincinnati Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. Ron McCready says there's only one black head coach. Right. There's only one black head coach in the NFL, Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin is the only black head coach. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this lawsuit. You can't tell, you know, you can't. The other thing is you can't make these owners hire black people. You can't make if they don't want to hire a black person, they don't have to. You know, so you can't make them hire. You can't make them hire a black person. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this lawsuit with Brian Flores and him saying that the owner, Stephen Ross, who owns the Miami Dolphins, told him, he offered him $100K a game to lose. Now, the NFL has said that they are going to look into that. But it's a shame because Brian Flores is a good coach. I think he should have waited. Weighed the odds. And I'm not saying just don't say nothing and be quiet. But I think he should have waited until those other jobs got filled before he came out with all of this stuff. But I support him 100%. And that sounds weird, right? I think you should have waited, but I support him. No, but I do support him. Anyway, everybody, it's about 45 seconds left to the show. So I want to thank you all for partaking in my nonsense every Thursday at 7 p.m. Mr. Ron Kelly Show. I appreciate you all, each and every one of you who partake of the show every week. 30 seconds left. So, yeah, and the Ron Kelly Show is going to be on Spotify. Because I'm just like, well, why? We're going to be on Spotify, and the Ron Kelly Show will be on Spotify, and it will be on iHeartRadio very shortly. So I'll keep you posted on that. Anyway, have a nice week, everybody. Remember, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And that we may not have it all together, but together, we, black folks, can certainly have it all. Thanks so much. I think I'm done.